Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. We finally discovered why Usopp's lies become reality, and it's all because his destiny is meant to be fulfilled in the land of giants. Elbaf and his devil fruit will reveal everything. Elbaf is the paradise of giants, full of Nordic references like Valhalla and gods, where Usopp, with his heritage as a liar, shines. In chapter 115, Dory and Brogy tell legends of warriors, and in chapter 1158, the arc dives deeper into myths like Loki, the trickster who lies even to gods like Odin. Usopp, who already pretends to be a brave giant in chapter 116 to impress the Straw Hats, could find the fruit in a relic of Loki, maybe a forbidden tree that the giants guard out of fear of its illusory power. Just like in chapter 685 in Punk Hazard, where he uses lies to survive against dragons, in Elbaf he would awaken the fruit during a clash with Loki or the God Knights, creating lies that become reality, such as an army of giants follows me, manifesting illusions that fight for him. The awakening would be insane. Just like Katakuri awakens Mochi in chapter 895 to create a mirrored world, Usopp would awaken the Uso Uso to turn lies into alternate dimensions, making enemies believe in defeats that actually become real, like in chapter 680 in Dressrosa, where his lie about being God becomes a prophecy. Like Loki, he would deceive gods like Imu in chapter 1085, creating illusions that hide the sunny or make the empty throne truly appear empty. Luffy would laugh, "Usopp, are you a god now?" Ha 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 ha! Tell a lie about an endless feast? That would be epic, elevating Usopp from power to divine force, justifying his tall tales since chapter 9 as foreshadowing of his true power. The Uso Uso no Mi would be a paramecia that transforms lies into real effects, limited by the listener's belief, just like Usopp uses psychology to intimidate in chapter 40 against Kuro, pretending poisons that paralyze enemies out of fear. In Elbaf, Usopp could eat the fruit during an escape from giants, maybe mistaking it for an ordinary plant, just like Chopper does with the Hito Hito no Mi in chapter 140. At first, he would create small illusions like "I'm invisible" to hide, echoing his lies in Syrup Village in chapter 23. But the awakening would come in the climax, just like Luffy in chapter 1044 against Kaido when Usopp lies to save the crew. An army of gods follows me, manifesting illusory clones that fight as if real, even infused with haki. Like Loki, the god of lies who tricks Thor and Odin, Usopp would become a divine trickster, creating alternate realities that confuse admirals like Kizaru in chapter 554, making him believe in impossible speeds. The power would be awesome because it scales with creativity, like in chapter 758 where Usopp's lie inspires the Tontadas. Awakened, he could lie about the sea parts to escape tsunamis, or Imu is weak to weaken the Dark King in chapter 1085. That would justify Usopp's growth, from cowardly liar in chapter 8 to god of illusion, just as Odin uses lies in Norse myths. Elbaf, with Nordic giants like Dory and Brogy in chapter 116, is inspired by Valhalla and gods like Loki, the trickster who lies to change fates. Usopp, with his lies that save the day, like in chapter 680 in Dressrosa, where he becomes God Usopp, is the perfect parallel to Loki. In Elbaf, he could find the fruit in one of Loki's traps, the giant prince mentioned in chapter 1158 as an antagonist, eating it to escape an awakening during a battle where he lies to defeat the giant, creating illusions that become real like "a dragon protects me," manifesting a beast that fights by his side. Like Loki, Usopp would deceive divine enemies, like the God Knights in chapter 1160, creating lies that make a horned Yeti believe in fake weaknesses. His role in the fleet would be tactical, like in chapter 758 inspiring allies, but awakened, he would become the master of illusions, confusing Blackbeard in chapter 577 or Imu in chapter 1085 with false realities that become traps. Luffy would laugh, "Usopp, you're a god now? Tell a lie about the One Piece being a feast." That would be hilarious and powerful, raising Usopp to a force Oda has been building since chapter 9, where his lies were already saving lives. Usopp's awakening in Elbaf would turn the tide against the world government, which fears mythical powers like Nika in chapter 1044. Like Loki, he could lie about the empty throne is empty, creating illusions that confuse Imu in chapter 1085. Or the poneglyphs tell lies, messing with the Gorosei's plans. In chapter 1115, Vegapunk reveals that devil fruits are manifested desires. The Uso Uso would be the desire to lie to win, perfect for Usopp, who always uses tall tales to survive, like in chapter 40 against Kuro. Against Blackbeard, Usopp could lie about your yami yami is weak, weakening the fruit in chapter 441, or create illusions of fake fruits for Teach to chase. It would be epic to see Usopp, from coward in chapter 8 to god at awakening, leading the fleet with lies that become victories, like in chapter 700 758 inspiring the Tontatas. The theory justifies his growth, with Elbaf as the Nordic stage for Loki to be born, and Usopp saying, "My lies became truth. I am the god of tall tales." Oda plants seeds for this. Usopp's lies save the day, like in Chapter 23, where he pretends to be a captain to intimidate pirates, or in Chapter 680 as God Usopp, inspiring a nation. In Elbaf, with Norse myths in Chapter 1158, Loki, as the antagonist, would be the catalyst, with Usopp eating the fruit during a giant betrayal, awakening to become the good Loki. His observation Haki in Chapter 758, which senses lies, would evolve to create illusions, just like Katakuri's Mochi in Chapter 895. In Chapter 9, Usopp tells tall tales about gods. Awakened, he becomes one. That would be awesome, raising the lyre to divine, just like Luffy becomes Nika in Chapter 1044. The crew would be stunned by Usopp's awakening. Luffy would laugh, "Ha ha ha! Usopp's a god now! Tell a lie about infinite meat." Zoro would growl, "If your lie's cut, then let's train." Sanji would light a cigarette. "God of lies? Don't lie about my cooking." Robin would smile. "Interesting. Loki in the flesh." Nami would yell, "Usopp, lie that we're rich." Chopper would cry, "Usopp's a god? Cool." Frankie would pose, "Super. Let's build a giant lie." Brooke would laugh, "Yo ho ho, god of lies. My life is a lie." Jinbei would nod, "Your power saves lives. Use it with honor." This reaction would turn Usopp from comic relief into a pillar, like in Chapter 758. Against Imu, Usopp as Loki would create illusions that confuse demonic shadows, lying that the abyss is light, turning Imu's power against him. It would be epic to see Usopp from coward in Chapter 8 to god, saving the fleet with lies that become reality, like an army of Nikas follows me, manifesting clones of Luffy. That would be the peak of his arc, justifying his tall tales as foreshadowing of divine power. Elbaf, with Nordic giants in Chapter 116, is inspired by myths like Loki tricking gods. Usopp, exploring with his curiosity in Chapter 23, finds the fruit in a Loki trap in Chapter 1158, eating it to escape and awakening during a battle, creating lies that defeat giants. Just like in Chapter 680, where he becomes God, in Elbaf, he becomes Loki, elevating him to a power Oda has been building since the beginning. Usopp as Loki would be the perfect twist, with lies turning into power, like in Chapter 9, where tall tales save villages. His awakening in Elbaf would be epic, adding illusions to the fleet, confusing Imu and Blackbeard. Luffy would laugh, "Usopp, you're the most lying god. Let's lie so the world can be free." We finally discover the origin of Usopp's power. His lies become reality due to the destiny laid out for him in Elbaf, where his true ability will be revealed. Elbaf, with its Nordic references to gods and myths, will be the perfect setting for the awakening of his devil fruit, the Uso Uso no Mi, a paramecia that turns lies into tangible realities. The fruit, hidden in a relic of Loki, the god of lies, will be discovered by Usopp during a giant escape mistaken for an ordinary plant, similar to what happened with Chopper and his Hito Hito no Mi. With the awakening, Usopp's power will be vast, creating illusions so massive they can shape reality around him. Unlike a simple trickery ability, his power could create alternate worlds, manifest illusory clones, and even manipulate the battlefield. Like when he pretends to be protected by a dragon or summons an army of giants. He could defeat enemies like the God Knights or Loki with illusions so strong they would be hard to distinguish from reality. Usopp's rise as a master of illusions reflects his growth since his first lies. He has always been able to use his tall tales to save the crew, like in Syrup Village or Dressrosa. But in Elbaf, his power will reach an even greater scale, where his lies will alter not only the perception of others, but also the very nature of the confrontation. This power would manifest similarly to other awakenings like Katakuri's with his Mochi Mochi no Mi, allowing him to create devastating effects that change the enemy's perception, making his illusions as real as reality itself. Usopp will thus become an essential figure in the battle against the world government and Imu's forces. His lies will become tools to deceive even the most powerful figures, like Blackbeard and Imu himself, using his ability to confuse his enemies and turn the tide. The power to turn lies into prophecies will be his main weapon, allowing him to manipulate the outcome of battles and influence even the greatest events in history. The idea of Usopp as a kind of Loki in the world of One Piece is fascinating. Like the Norse god, Usopp will use his lies to create alternate realities that affect not only the battlefield, but also the narratives that would shape the characters' destinies. With his strategic and creative mind, he will be responsible for turning the tide in favor of the crew, leading the team to victories that once seemed impossible. His journey from coward to god of illusions will undoubtedly be one of the most epic and well-earned transformations in the series, bringing a new level of complexity to his character. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.